Oh, wait.
I hope you're prepared, First Enchanter. The Inquisitor has brought us a long way from the Circle.
Rest assured, dear Seek, I'm never truly out of my element.
Outflexed by the ladies again. Crestwood isn't far. Let's be good neighbors and deal with their outlaw problem.
Now before we start moving, let's take a quick look around. This is Crestwood. This area is bigger than any area that we've ever made. Bigger than all of Dragon Age 2 put together. It would actually take you 15 minutes to run across in a straight line, if that was even possible. There's sort of a mountain in the way. And actually, this is far from the biggest area in Dragon Age Inquisition. Mike, why don't you start walking us through?
Sure. So Crestwood is part of Ferelden. Its nation origins was set in, you're kind of coming home, but it's one that wasn't too heavily touched by the Blight. But more importantly, it's a place we've already been. We're a fair ways into the game here, and at this point, the Inquisition already has a presence in this region. The Inquisitor's troops are here, our men are in place, and in response to that, we've received a counterattack. The enemies are coming, they're trying to take the keep that we hold and that we use to maintain our presence. This is bad news, but the Inquisitor comes to this kind of thing because as Inquisitor, you're an inspiration as much as you are a leader. And being there on the front lines is absolutely important to maintain the morale and to maintain the position that you hold. As we come down to the water, you can see the warboats coming in. We're in the middle of essentially a live event that's occurring, and also a coruscation of green energy. I love the word coruscation. What that is a side effect of that massive hole in the veil we talked about, the tear. These rifts are opening up throughout the world. Demons are pouring out, undead are coming back, magic is going crazy, and each and every one of them represents a real threat to the stability and safety of everyone that's nearby. This one, in particular, is troublesome because it's underwater. It's very hard for us to reach, but long term, the Inquisition would try to find a way to reach it and seal it, if at all possible. But we'll leave that for the main game. We've got a fight coming up because obviously we're under attack, and one thing I want to make very clear, Inquisition does not automatically level its enemies to match yours. If you come to it, yeah. You know what that means. Let's do some fighting.
This doesn't sound good.
So in addition to big, beefy sword swings, which feel extra physical and weighty, of course you have direct control over your camera. We want to give you the camera that fits your playstyle. And here, conversation is another version of that.
Your Eminence, the call to defend Crestwood. It wasn't outlaws like we thought. It's Red Templars. They attacked the village to draw us out, and then a larger force assaulted the keep. The old tunnels, Inquisitor. They'll be inside the walls before we can rally.
Now these are my men. They're here, some of them are hurt, and it's up to me to choose what happens next. You remember we said we didn't want to spoil too much of the story. Well, this event seemed like a perfect place to talk about the burden of leadership without giving too much away. And in this case, you see options to stay with the wounded, regroup, and head to the keep. But something I want to call out, you'll notice that additional choice bar, and that is optional. You can turn it on and off, but what we want to be sure is that whenever you're making a choice that has a direct action, a head, that the paraphrase is absolutely clear. So if you want to make certain you know exactly what role you'll take, there it is, right there for you. Yep, let's regroup.
Get every able soldier on their feet. I want you defending the keep.
Inquisitor, of course.
Leave the wounded and go to the keep. What about Crestwood?
Crestwood needs the Inquisition strong.
Now without consequence, choice is relatively meaningless, and we put a big emphasis on consequence. They range from the big to the little. Obviously here, our men are going to go to the keep. That's going to affect our gameplay, but also you heard Varric is upset. And relationships with your companions, how they feel about you, how they feel about the decisions you're making, remain a huge focus for the Dragon Age franchise and for Dragon Age Inquisition.
The Red Templars may spare it.
We sent their hope to the keep. Come on, Inquisitor. Let's get over there.
Now, in Dragon Age Inquisition, actions speak louder than words. We could head down there and try to protect Crestwood Village, even though we sent our men to the keep. You make that decision, the world reacts to the decision you make, and then you have to react to the world as it now stands. But we're going to maintain consistency, we're going to keep going to the keep. In order to avoid any more troops at this point, we're actually going to leave the road.
Now in Inquisition, a big thing we're trying to focus on as well is making sure that we move to an understanding of how you interact with the world. It should go a little deeper than press A to do X. That's fine for doors, it's fine for simple interactions, but sometimes we want to test whether or not you've come prepared, whether or not you can seize an opportunity, whether that's a dark cave, you need a light to go in, or as we see here, these warboats are pulled up. And the Red Templars that control them are our long-term enemies, so we can actually burn them to cut off their retreat and weaken them further. And of course, we put a huge effort into locomotion, making sure that if you're stuck in mud, you sure feel it. Now here, we're using Antivan Fire. It's a potion you keep equipped on your belt. You only have a limited number, but you can use it to burn the boats rather than press A to burn the boat. And if you had a fireball with your mage, you could achieve the exact same effect. Coming ready is a big part of exploring the world that we're creating. So we make our way through here as well. You'll notice we're in, like I said, the middle of a live event. You can see the time ticking down. This keep strength is falling. This gives us a definite imperative. And something I want to make absolutely clear. We could pull a red cliff. We could turn around, head on out, and literally everything would fall. We are really the tipping point as these characters, but it is a valid gameplay option, but not without consequence, as we'll see later. Here, you will notice a cave. It is not the cave. My favorite part, though, is when you're in a dark place, you of course want to use light. You want to be exploring, and something that we have pushed further is to make sure that, fire, that's pretty mundane. We're in this epic fantasy world. So we've got Veil Fire. It's capable of being lit by ritual. You can keep it burning for a very long time without fuel because it's feeding off magic itself. And as a result, this flame has some special properties which can be very useful when you're exploring. And we don't really have time to study these right now. Normally we describe them, take them back to the Inquisition, but with our keep in danger, we've got some fighting to do. Because in Dragon Age games, you can always switch to take direct control of any member of your party, and you can do that here as well. Facing a giant monster like this, we're going to use Cassandra to switch over to her abilities, which are built in order to help deal with it. She can use a rock armor potion to toughen herself up, of course. We can use her Warhorn ability to catch its attention, keep him focused, and with it staying close, she can then use her armor break. It's a special shield bash available to those kinds of warriors that can shatter the armor you'll see around its health bar. Eliminating it leaves it wide open for the rest of the party to take it down. There's some really important things to note in the aftermath of a fight. First thing is your health does not automatically recover. Once you've received your wounds, they stick around for quite some time until you return back to your home base or rest at a camp. This means that you need to be careful with how you're healing. With potions, you only have a limited number. You won't be able to carry stacks of thousands of lesser healing potions anymore. Sorry. Because we're aiming for a more realistic feel. And there's actually an ultimate goal to this. With limited healing, limited health, and no automatic recovery, we're asking you to think about the adventure, not just a single encounter. I don't want you to feel comfortable when you see 3 wolves. I want you instead to consider whether they're worth avoiding, whether they're worth engaging, or whether they're something you want to tackle in order to get their hides for the XP.
So at this point, we're actually going to jump ahead a little bit in time until after we would have finished securing our key.
Demo magic. So are you. I'm sorry, I can't see.
Those things don't get a second chance at us.
Walking!
Well, if you recall, there was some trebuchets firing at the keep earlier. Let's head over that way and make sure
We had
that
time
we
to
properly
prepare,
secure them.
thanks to the soldiers you sent back.
Okay, it looks like my men have things in hand, so I'm actually going to have us go up onto that bridge and take a quick look around. Now, as you can see, we're just scratching the surface of this area here today. This area is vast, and we're only seeing a tiny part of it. Let's head over to Crestwood Village and assess the damage that's occurred. On the right here, you can see another cave. Caves actually are something you can enter seamlessly. There will be no load screen, and there will be caves dotting the landscape throughout Dragon Age Inquisition. In Dragon Age, we want decisions to have consequence in the world and to your game. Decisions in Dragon Age Inquisition are tough, and they have hard-hitting consequences. In many cases, the decisions you make will have lasting implications. Content will be unlocked, you'll get access to things you wouldn't otherwise get.
Barrett, there's nothing to be gained by going there now.
Come on, Seeker. Don't you want to see our handiwork?
In some cases, doors will be closed forever. Slaughters, Crestwood is gone, its story has ended, and the rest of the game changes as a result. This is a choice that we made. We have to live with the consequences of it. Obviously, this is going to have an impact on a relationship with Varric. In a game like Dragon Age, that's something that's going to have a lasting impact. Now, this is one of the smaller examples of Dragon Age reacting to your decisions. We're showing you how this is actually locked away content, removed it from the game. What we're going to do is we're going to load a game at a different place, and show you how you can actually unlock content.
Now in Inquisition, you'll be traveling all across the world. You'll be going to snowy mountain passes, demon-infested bogs, barren deserts, and more. And with this next load, we're going to go to the place called the Western Approach. It is on the opposite side of the map. It's far to the west in Orlais, and it's a barren desolation for us to visit.
Now this is by far the biggest game our studio has ever made. Dragon Age Inquisition is made of large, distinct areas, letting you explore a lot more of the world, from western Orlais to eastern Ferelden. This is ultimately a game of nations, so we couldn't confine you to a single city or a single province. visit or have a significance to the Inquisition. There's a reason for you to go there, and a reason that draws you in the first place. But once you get there, each region is huge and expansive, allowing you countless opportunities for exploration and discovery. The Western approach, where we're headed now, is many times the size of Crestwood, but still doesn't represent the biggest area in the game.
So when we talk about an area that's that big, you know, the obvious question is, well, what do you do there? And that's the thing. The Western approach, while large, is full of secrets. It's a place that was once held by the Tevinter Empire. More recently, the Grey Wardens built a line of fortresses and watchtowers along the Abyssal Rift to defend against the Darkspawn during the Second Blight. And in the timeline for Inquisition, a cult directly opposed to our goals has moved into this area to try and uncover the secrets long buried in the sands. Most importantly, Inquisition has no real stronghold here. We don't have a presence in the way we would. So, as this leads us to explore, the thing to note is that there's all kinds of opportunities. Every landmark you see as we look around, those are all places you can go, things you can explore and visit. And we want to get that sense of real exploration. No quests holding your hand. There's a cave system you can see sort of the start of down there. You may not ever be told to go there. And we want to get back to the idea of true discovery. That you and your friend can have gone through this area and potentially found stuff that neither of you ever saw in the other game. That's our ultimate goal. Now, of course, Inquisition is fundamentally a game party-based, and the party members, of course, continue to banter. They chatter amongst themselves as you explore, but they also can offer help. They can spot things, they can call things out, things you might not otherwise see.
What's there on the cliff face?
Something very, very safe, given the environment.
Now this gives us a long-term goal. How do we reach that cave? Or, you know. Two long-term goals. The whole valley there is filled with the noxious gas, almost impossible for us to get in. And of course, we now realize there's a dragon in the area. We want to make sure that large threats like dragons or enemy fortresses are always visible, something that you are aware of and grow in understanding. And of course, they become part of your long-term plan as you play. Speaking of, this keep you can see in the distance here is one that we've been working on in this save. We've had a plan to try and weaken it. We've drawn its troops out to kind of, you know, attack them outside the walls. We've managed to poison the well. So it's in worse shape than it normally would be. And a keep like this is a very tough fight. Well, tougher outside of the demo, let me be honest. But the simple truth is that, you know, by weakening it, we're actually able to, you know, gain some significant ground. But that's all long-term planning. Short-term, there's a number of significant things we can do in order to improve our odds when we're facing a superior force. The first thing is, of course, your equipment. A very vital part of Inquisition. Here we can look through our weapons and find that, oh, 46, very powerful First Inquisitor's Flame, a huge two-handed sword. But we've heard you guys like to change your party's equipment. And you may notice they're all wearing different armors than they were in Crestwood, because you can absolutely do that. You can change the weapons within their class as well. So let's pull that sword out and take a look, if we could. Yes. Inquisition features our deepest crafting system to date. You will be able to forge your own weapons and your own armor and give them the silliest names. Whatever. As well as an incredibly intense alchemy system to carry more potions and so on. But all that is great. You know, we've even got some situational things. You notice the enemies there are not immediately charging us. We don't want battles to get up in your face. We want to give you time to prepare. We want to give you time to execute a strategy and to think tactically. But we know there's a specific way you guys like to do that, and that sometimes it requires a change of perspective. for every platform. It has never been like that. And with it, of course, you can, in pause time, you can issue orders, tell your characters to move to different points, set their targets, tell them to use abilities, leave ice traps. All of that can be done as part of your long-term strategy, and then, without changing your perspective, you can choose to engage. Start time, continue moving with the most free-floating camera we've ever had, then take your next steps. Continue with your plan, lay it out, and then at any time, return back to full action play over the shoulder, third person. It's up to you how you want to play. Not really worth its name if its doors are wide open. It's hard for, it should be hard for you to attack, and whether or not you need to find a bolt hole and make your way through a series of tunnels to get in here, fight your way around the back because it's not the most solid keep, or potentially, as I said, have you brought the right tools for the job? Maybe you spec one of your warriors to be an absolute battering ram, as we have with Cassandra, and you can just knock.
Of ranged enemies on the walls and expendables girding them.
My dear, we render them all expendable.
Now, interacting with your environment is a huge part of Inquisition. It should be not just something when you're exploring, but also as part of your battle plans. And as we can see here, we've got a line of soldiers there, but archers up on that bridge. They would be absolutely difficult to reach. We'd have to climb ladders or make our way around to the walls. But we noticed our bridge was a little bit rickety, giving us a huge opportunity to freeze these guys in place so our warriors have a clear run to that support. Are at their best when they're challenging you in different ways, not just being tough or big sacks of hit points. As the Gladiator here has a huge shield deflecting arrows, deflecting spells, making it very hard to take him down unless you use teamwork to properly flank him. Sometimes you even have to open up new routes to reach him in the course of that. Gladiator like that would normally not be fighting alone, but we want to be able to demonstrate the benefits of flanking. Let's take a look at fighting an enemy team that works together a little more intelligently. So we're facing an enchanter. He's a very powerful mage who can add benefits to his allies, causing the archers to fire arrows. He can throw lifts down on the ground, making it very treacherous for us to move around. So our first goal is to cut him off, try and isolate him, and make sure the archers don't have clear lines of fire using a wall of ice. More than just destroying parts of the battlefield, we want to make sure you can create zones of your own advantage and do so on the fly. Now the enchanter has very thick magical enchantments protecting and making him very tough to kill, but using the spell we can tear those down, again leaving him wide open. And when things get hairy, keep's ours. We've claimed it. We can now take control of it and claim it for the Inquisition. Good job.
Okay, let's step out of the game for a second. We've captured this keep. What are we going to do with it?
We'll go over to our slides.
And we'll flip over to the slide deck again.
We hope. There it is. Hey.
Keep capturing represents just one of the ways you'll influence the world in Dragon Age Inquisition. Dragon Age Inquisition is really like another character to advance. The Inquisition itself is like another character to advance, interact with, and level up. You make leadership decisions of a powerful organization. It's the deciding factor in the balance between the mages and the Templars, in the fate of nations, and you decide how you deploy your troops and agents. These decisions will strengthen you and your Inquisition in different ways. Capturing keeps is like getting new equipment for your Inquisition. Once you get it, you can then customize it. You have a keep like this. If you want to customize it for something that's espionage, secrets, information gathering, or a little bit more inviting, commerce, connections, place for merchants, or, as we're going to do today, do you want something that's focused on pure military might? It's your game. This decision will change how it plays. Now, once you control a key, you can use it as a base of operations to deploy your agents in the world and make a fundamental impact on the region where you have a key, in ways that are major, visible, and affect your game. You can rebuild an ancient monument, put that shattered colossus back together, increasing the renown of the Inquisition, spreading your influence more broadly. Or open up the West Gate, giving you access to vinter magical devices, old artifacts. Or, if you remember, there was a cave we wanted to get to, blocked by some poisonous gases. We can cap those vents and harvest the gases for our alchemy. And it's also going to give us access to additional spaces and maybe let us get to that cave. Now, let's get back to the game and take a look at this in action. Attention! At ease!
So our goal with Inquisition, above and beyond anything else, is to make sure that you feel like you have impact on this world. Not just story changes, not just some letters being sent to you, but physical changes that manifest your growing power and your growing influence across the world. A new keep like this not only offers opportunities for the Inquisition to work its way forward, but also for you to rest, to recharge, replenish your potions, to get a new party member. All those things are now possible. You essentially have a new home base, but not the only home base.
There's enough to go deep honest. It's what we have. We get plenty of people with tomorrow. Inquisitor, there you are. Everything is secured and we've already sent out patrols.
Now we asked ourselves, are there things that we could do to keep that player empowerment, to keep you in charge of your game, even when it comes to conversation, which normally is a mode the game enters, often outside of your control. In an event like this guy comes up, he doesn't have the most critical information. So you can actually toggle between the modes, deciding whether you want to engage with them, ask him a series of questions, maybe learn some new info, or if you prefer, to simply walk away. It's the little things.
It is.
As we make our way through the keep, we'll return to the more barren wilds of the desert, so you'll be able to see the first steps of the Inquisition spread against influence. You can see the first of our alchemical caps. It's visible there in the distance. A bit of a plume coming out of it. Of course, some other places you'll want to check out. Something shiny on the hill. fortification up top there, possibly connected to the west gate, this area that we haven't opened up yet, because we have not done so with our Inquisition, what was the direct result of our choice. But this area to our right is that chasm that was filled with that noxious gas. Completely impassable before, but now that we've taken the key, we can now open it back up, go explore it. And the nice thing is our men are here, they're hard at work, they're harvesting these different alchemical opportunities, and worker safety is at an all-time high. So we have one more thing we want to talk about today. It's in the name Dragons. Dragons in Inquisition have received a complete overhaul. They are big, they are bad, and they are going to push you to your limits. In fact, each dragon is a specially built encounter designed to work and interact with the space in which you find it. They are long-term, aspirational enemies. You will find the most amazing stuff when you take them out, but doing so with something as enormous like a high dragon like this will prove exceedingly difficult. So, they've also learned a few new tricks. Let's head in and check that out. Sorry about that. You all turned into Smurfs.
I do not believe that will be the problem. I'll get its attention. Inquisitor, on your mark.
All right, well, thanks, everybody. Thank you, Mike and Mark. Thank you, Blair and Bruce, for an amazing demo.